On today's episode, we are going to take a look at a headline that came out today by the US government that has a lot of electric vehicle investors excited, and rightfully so. But before we go any further, make sure to hit the subscribe button, the thumbs up, and get your free stock on Webull. The link is down below. Now let's get started. So today on January 25th, 2021, Joe Biden says that the federal government also owns an enormous fleet of vehicles which we're going to replace with clean electric vehicles made right here in America by American workers. And let me be honest, when I first read that, I didn't think too much of the USA fleet. I didn't know what vehicles I was thinking. The first thing that came in mind were the vehicles like the presidents and Secret Services go out and drive around, right? Those super big SUVs with bulletproof glass. And those were the first that came out in my mind. But I decided to go and click my keyboard, go to Google, and did a little more research to see what type of vehicles does the United States government own. And this is where things get very, very interesting. And this is not only great for electric vehicle manufacturers, it's also great for other companies that help out the electric vehicle manufacturers, and we're going to also talk about that later on in today's episode. So the first thing I wanted to take a look at was the total United States federal fleet inventory. And right now, all of the agencies in the United States federal fleet have about 640,000 vehicles. Out of those 640,000 vehicles, they're pretty much broken down into three segments: the passenger vehicles, the trucks vehicle, and others. The one that makes up most of this inventory is actually the truck segment, and they make up about 400,000, close to that 640,000. And let me just say, this is data from 2018, but I also pulled up the data from 2019, and it hasn't changed much. There hasn't been much drastic change, so I'm going to continue to look at this 2018 data. So we can see trucks makes up about 400,000, close to 400 of that 640,000 units. Most of it is actually coming from the United States Postal Services. So now that kind of gives us an idea of, hey, who's gonna need a lot of these EV vehicles and what type of vehicles they are trying to make. So now this kind of gives us an idea of what type of companies we should look at if we're EV investors to kind of really get ahead of this curve if it hasn't already, right? Because right now, due to the current administration, we have seen a huge rally up on the EV market, on clean energy, on green stocks. But unfortunately, right, not all of those stocks are gonna end up doing well. Most likely, for example, for these truck and vehicle inventories, there's only going to be a handful of companies that they might choose, or if that many, right? So we have to take into account that not every single EV company is going to survive. Not every single charging company is going to survive. And I do believe that's probably going to be one of the biggest risks in the future for EV and clean energy is investing in the one that's actually going to succeed. And it's not going to be just one that succeeds. There's obviously going to be plenty around, but it's not going to be compared to the huge number we have right now. So now we know that trucks play a major factor in this United States federal fleet inventory. Another one that plays a major factor is the passenger vehicles. They make up about 235,000 of that 640. So the two major are passenger vehicles and trucks. Most of those are actually civilian agencies. The agencies in the United States federal fleet are the civilian agencies, the military agency, and the United States Postal Services. Like we saw already, the United States Postal Service takes up a lot of the trucking parts, but the civilian agency has a lot of passenger vehicles and also has a lot of trucks. The military agency has this almost same amount of trucks compared to the civilian agencies, but they have almost half the amount of passenger vehicles. I want to say for the military agencies, I don't know exactly if there are any special type of cars, so I'm not going to take a look at them. But in the civilian agencies, these are your personal vehicles that you and I drive on our everyday life. So then I wanted to go a little bit closer. And here, if we look at this Excel sheet, and this you can find in the United States government website, just put in United States federal fleet and they actually give you a breakdown of everything. Here, if I zoom in for you guys, in 2019, they had about 645,000 vehicles. Out of those 645,000 vehicles, 603 were domestically made vehicles, companies made here by United States company. The other 41,000 were international vehicles. So now we can kind of see, hey, okay, they're going to move into, if they're moving into some form of electric fleet, they're going to move into electric fleets that are mainly made here in the United States. So then I decided to go a bit further. I want to see who are some of the biggest makers right now here in the United States with electric vehicles, especially here in the domestic passenger. In the domestic passenger, I would say the number one winner right now is Tesla, right? Their Model 3, their Model 3 would probably be one of the best electric vehicles right now for the passenger side. Another great contender would be Ford. Ford has a few hybrid vehicles. They have the 2020 Fusion Hybrid, and they also have the 2020 Fusion Plug-in Hybrid. And these are all expected to be out right now in 2020. And they also are coming out with some newer vehicles, but they have a lot of both hybrid, mainly hybrid, but they do have this new electric, the 2020 Mustang Mach-E. So Ford can also be a contender, I do believe, with those Fusion plug-in hybrids and the Fusion hybrids. Even though they are not full electric, I do believe they might still add some form of, they might still have some staying, especially Ford, such a big company right now here in the United States. I tried looking at the other guys, GMC, try to look at Dodge, and not too many of them, in my opinion, had vehicles ready to be purchased right now. So a lot of people are believing that Tesla is going to be a major milestone in this whole team, in this whole movement of electric fleet for the United States government. And the reason is because earlier today, there were some articles that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has placed up to $1 million worth of bullish bets on Tesla stock. She revealed in a financial disclosure form last week, right? This is last week, but with this electric vehicle market news that came out today, a lot of people are bringing this back up. So this financial disclosure form showed that Pelosi bought 25 call options on Tesla stock with a strike price of $500 and an expiration date of March 18th, 2022. So this is a very, very bullish bet on Tesla right now. And coming out just a week ago and today coming out with this electric vehicle news kind of gives you, hey, maybe we gotta follow big money right now. And if you guys don't know, I live stream on Twitch every Mondays and Tuesdays at 8:30 Eastern time at night. And the viewer comes and pretty much just requests companies that I should take a look at fundamentally. And one of the companies we took a look at either last week or the week before was XL Fleet. And this is a company that once I heard this news, I thought can kind of benefit if it's chosen. Let me talk a little bit more about this company, but I want to say right now, I'm not too heavy in the EV stock market. I do believe this is a market that will continue to boom as the years progress. I just really want to do my research first to decide who are the few companies I'm going to look at. Like I mentioned, right, there's so many companies right now just booming all over. And even though we might be a little bit too early, even if you're late to the game, you can still get great returns in the stock market. So I'd rather just sit back a bit, see a little bit more of what's happening, and then go in and start researching more on what companies I should invest. But for those that don't know XL Fleet, this is a company that that electrifies your vehicle. And they're working with a lot of good companies right now. They have Ford, GMC, and Chevrolet, right? So pretty much what happens is you bring over your vehicle to them. They can either make your vehicle some form of hybrid. They can make it a plug-in hybrid. So these are plug-in hybrids. You can bring them on any of these Ford pickup trucks. You can bring them Chevy, GMC. They also have hybrid electric systems. And here they have a few Ford Transit cargo passenger vans. They have some Chevy Express cargo and passenger vans, and they have like these Ford small buses as well. So now, and you can see the Ford F-59 Super Duty strip chassis. This looks like one of your delivery vehicles. A lot of small buses here. So these, if maybe the United States government just wants to kind of instead of buying new vehicles, just move them into transforming them into an electrified vehicle, then XL Fleet would actually be a great company for them to go look at. So I have seen a lot in Twitter right now that people are kind of guessing that XL Fleet might be a great winner for this current administration, and I can see why. I do see the reasoning behind. Obviously, that doesn't guarantee that it is going to happen. Another type of market that many investors should also take a look at are the charging stations, right? With these types of numbers of about 600,000 new vehicles, where are all these charging stations going to be? Are they going to be added into all these government agencies, right? Are they going to be put in? And if so, which is the charging station that's more likely to end up with this type of contract? And if you guys know a little bit more about some of these charging stations that can end up doing well, make sure to let me know in the comments below. It's great to share information with others so we can do a little more research as well. And another market that could be doing well because of this type of news is one dealing with like the battery technology. And like I mentioned, right, we've kind of seen this whole EV market just blow up in stock prices. We've seen a lot. Every week we find another EV stock that has gone up a nice 20-30%. So the real question is also how much of this has already been priced in. And a lot of these EV stocks are probably going to be very volatile in the upcoming months and the upcoming years. So for any new investor, I do want to say be careful with it. I'm not saying all these EV stocks are good investments, not saying these EV stocks are bad investments, but just understand that due to volatility, they are going to be making some crazy moves, both in the up direction and in the down direction. And if you guys, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but ARK Investment just released an article where they showed that, hey, when the whole gas-powered engine system came out, there were about, I want to say they said around 200 companies that came out. And in the next 20 years, those over 200 companies end up only about 50 of them ended up surviving. So again, that's another thing we have to take a look at. Not all of these EV companies are going to survive. Not all of these charging stations are going to survive. Not all of these battery companies are going to survive. So it's good to, hey, for me, I'm going to sit back real quick, try to get a little more information. And like I said, sometimes even if you're late to the party, you can still come out with great returns. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to hit the thumbs up, make sure to subscribe, and let me know in the comments below what are some cool EV stocks that one should look at right now. Take care, have a good day, and see you next time.